Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to the Grassroots Business Journal. I am your host, Paul Wilusz, where talking business meets the social media. Our guest today is Donna Wertenbach from the Community Economic and Development Fund. She is the president and CEO. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you.
Excellent, excellent. We were talking a little bit before coming on the show here today about the realities that small businesses encounter in this economic session. Can you explain a little bit to our audience in regards to what is the reality that small businesses have to encounter with this recession?
Well, we are now at a point in time in the recession where there are now some opportunities starting to present themselves for small businesses, both for businesses that have survived the recession, as well as new startup businesses that are looking to break into our economy. The important thing that people understand is that one of the unique pieces of this particular recession is that it didn't behave like a lot of other recessions. In other recessions, you had an existing economy, you went through the recession, you just waited and the old economy came back.
Okay.
In this recession, that's not true. The old economy disappeared, dead and gone, and we came into a new economy. This is critical that small business owners understand this because the marketplace has changed. Their price pointing should have changed. The financial management of their business needs to change because their marketplace and their customer base, in many, many cases, has been modified as a result of this recession. Attitudes have changed, buying patterns have changed, and it's very important for the existing business owners to take a step back and take a serious reevaluation of today's marketplace to make sure that whatever their strategies are that they're using, they're in line with today's marketplace and not pre-recession's marketplace. It's also very important for anybody looking to do a startup that there's a lot of information out there to do market research. Be careful you are not doing your planning on market research that's pre-recession versus post-recession, because you'll be planning your business for the wrong market.
Were businesses prepared for this, or were there signs out there that small businesses should have been aware of in regards to the recession, how to deal with that recession and make it through, or was it just completely taken by surprise by all sectors?
Well, I think when we first started off in the recession, even the economists kept saying, oh, in a quarter we'll be out. Oh, it's going to be okay. Oh, it's going to look like this. And it didn't. It surprised a lot of people.
Well, I found it very interesting that when you mentioned about economists, I remember hearing an interview in where economists were saying, we don't know what the answers are. And I found that to be very interesting because if they don't know, and they're the ones who know, what's going on here? So I just wanted to make that point.
Well, most economists make their predictions based on how recessions have behaved in the past. And it didn't take long into this recession before people started to realize this is a new ball game we've got going on here. And it's not behaving like following all the patterns of other recessions in the past. Okay. And that's where the economists saying we're not sure where this is going, where those comments are coming from. The important thing is that not all small businesses are watching and staying on top of these kinds of issues. Okay. And so it's important that they realize that now that we're coming through it and they're looking at opportunities for stabilization and growth, that they need to realize that they need to base their planning based on the new economy.
You had also mentioned, and I think it's quite important, that there's a mindset that a small business owner needs to have before entering and getting into the business itself. How important is that mindset?
It's very important because it drives how they approach the design and the growth of their business. So a certain percentage of our population is entrepreneurial in nature. And usually we jokingly say those are the rabble-rousers, the troublemakers, the people who are always looking for a different way to do it. You know, my way is better, I can invent a better model, a better mousetrap. Those are exactly the kinds of people we are looking for when we're looking to work with entrepreneurs. The people who are used to following the standard patterns in society make excellent employees, but they don't always have the mindset to be able to grasp opportunities, see growth opportunities, take risk, and grow a business through the difficult times. And so there's always been an acknowledgement that there's an entrepreneurial mindset and an employee mindset, and having that entrepreneurial mindset is very important.
Now, you had also mentioned about the fact that, you know, people during this economic downturn and slow recovery, that they may be interested in maybe going into that small business venue. How explain a little bit about their mindset, because they're coming in from as being an employee at one point in time, and now they would want to make a salary in that small business. Is that a reality for them, or is that just something that it's too far-fetched and they're not really thinking the whole process out?
There are people who have been employees up until now and are looking at starting a business as a result of not being able to replace the kind of employment they might have had in the past. And they do approach it from an entrepreneurial perspective, and they're fine, and they're realistic, and their feet are on the ground. And then there's a certain percentage of the population that we're starting to see where they're looking to start a business for the sole purpose of creating a salary for themselves. And that is not a conducive mindset to growing a business. You have to have the mindset of, I'm here to grow a business, and oh yes, by the way, I will generate some money for myself. But your motivation is not your salary. Your motivation is growing a successful business and taking some of that risk that's necessary to be able to take. People also need to realize that just because they see businesses out there that have survived, that does not mean that they're successful. And just because you start a business does not mean that at the end of month one, you're going to pull a salary out of that business. In most cases, when you're looking at starting a business, you're not going to be in a position where the business is not going to be in a position to allow you to pull a salary out of that business for a good 9 months, maybe a year, depending upon what industry you're in. And so you have to be able to answer the question of, this is a long-range plan. So if this is a long-range plan, how do I participate in that all-American custom of paying my mortgage and eating 3 meals a day while I'm getting my business there? Because it doesn't happen instantaneously with opening the business in most cases.
What do you see today from small businesses that you work with that are working with this kind of mindset? Are the businesses getting it? Or is there more of an education that really has to be given to really help them to really survive?
Well, this is the conversation you and I were having earlier, where in the past there was a fair amount of what we refer to cavalierly as wiggle room. And so business owners could be very strong at delivering their product or service, but fairly weak in administrative backup knowledge, and they could get through it in a really, really good economy. In today's world, both of those kinds of knowledge are essential in order to be able to grow your business with the least amount of pain, or pain reduction as we look at it. So business owners now need to know how to deliver the product or service. So if they're a landscaper, they better be very good at getting that snow off the ground. Okay. But they also have to know how to read their financials, manage their financials, see what they're telling them, evaluate their market niche. The back office stuff that frequently business owners would delegate to somebody else, but wouldn't necessarily watch themselves. In today's world, they need to be masters of both arenas. And so one of the things that our organization is doing is adding more and more resources to help small businesses master both arenas to increase their potential for success.
Do you see that from, again, you're working with business owners? Has that kind of understanding, is that a threat to them in any way? Do they feel threatened that they have to know all aspects of it? I just know the landscaping business, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know the business end, but I'll give that to someone else. Is it hard to get them out of that understanding for today's economy to become more adaptive and more confident in learning the whole business?
Well, I think it depends upon the individual entrepreneur. The entrepreneurs that are truly entrepreneurs find this kind of new opportunity as very exciting. And it gives them a higher level of control over their business, a higher level of being able to manage their future. For some people, they find this very intimidating. Mm-hmm. What people need to understand is they do this kind of planning in their daily life every single day. They go to the grocery store and they stand in the checkout line, at the risk of being grotesquely simple here, and they do budgeting on the spot. The things that people are afraid of, particularly the people who are math phobic, they don't need to be afraid of. They have all these skills. All it needs to do is be presented to them in a business format, in plain, simple English, in a practical environment. And that's what our organization provides for people, is the ability to be able to learn the fundamentals of that so that they can manage their business. Because the risk is they get to the end of the year, they do their tax returns. Well, it's too late to figure out what you did all year long when you're filing your tax returns, because the damage of a whole year of making the wrong decisions has already been done. Whereas if you can learn the basics of managing the finances and watching what your business is screaming at you, as you go through the business on an annual basis, you can catch your mistakes, you can adapt, and you can fix them. And then your potential for success increases dramatically. As small business owners, your true entrepreneurs figure this out. This is very exciting to them. They'll take every piece of knowledge and information that you can put in their hands. Now, whether they choose to do those books themselves or not in the future is really irrelevant. The important thing is that they know how to use the information, because they're the ones making the day-to-day decisions.
Now, I know that we're coming up close to the end of our first segment here. How have you had to adapt to meet this economic situation that we're in for small businesses? How have you had to adjust? How have you had to maybe increase services? What mechanisms have you gone through to really address this issue?
Well, there's been a lot of change at the Community Economic Development Fund, and there's even larger amounts of change coming in come January. We have added all sorts of new workshops that have been designed specifically for the non-accountant trained business owner who needs to understand their finances in plain old simple English. We've adapted all of our curriculums, we've modified them all. We've added, or we're adding workshops in January to help people assess, am I an entrepreneur or am I an employee? And what does that mean for me in terms of how I do or don't start a business and how I design it for the maximum amount of success? How do I use my strengths and compensate for my weaknesses? So we have all sorts of new workshops that we're offering now that we didn't offer before. We also offer a free business consultant to all of our small business borrowers. And we have increased all of those services. So now all of our borrowers get the opportunity to meet with their business advisor on a monthly basis to discuss or review whatever it is that they want to review. All the business decisions are theirs, but it gives them a sounding board that's a little more intensive than the kind of sounding board they had before, so that they can catch the mistakes early on and not run with them for several months and let them have the potential negative impact that they could have. We've also changed the way we do our lending. We provide capital to businesses that can't get capital from the banks. Every time the banks shift how they're lending to small business owners, we shift to make sure that we are filling that gap of the people who can't get a loan from a bank. What does CEDF need to be doing to make sure that those people get served and they have the capital that they need? and we reevaluate our underwriting, and we reevaluate our collateral, and we change the way we process it, and we change our staffing patterns. The other change that has happened at CEDF is that a significant portion of the small business community in the state of Connecticut is Hispanic. And there is a very strong entrepreneurial personality that runs through the Hispanic culture, as it does in all the other cultures. And so we have added Spanish-speaking people. We have translated our classes into Spanish. There are some things that they do need to learn in English, but they don't need to master finances in English. There's no reason why they can't learn those kinds of things in Spanish. So we have a variety of our classes and our resources that are now bilingual.
Okay. We've come to the end of this particular segment. We've been talking with Donna Wurtenbach from the Community Economic and Development Fund. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. If people are looking for help, please don't hesitate to call.
Excellent. And until next time, you've been watching Grassroots Business Journal. I'm your host, Paul Wilusz. See you in our next segment.